Imagine floating in weightlessness, discovering the depths of the cosmos, and your planet turning before your eyes. Living in space for a few hours or a few days in an orbital hotel. It's no longer a dream, it's our future. To prepare this future, we astronauts explore this new frontier. My name's Thomas Pesquet. I'm an astronaut. I'm in training for a mission, 6 months in the International Space Station. I think future space conquest is very important for everyone. The further we look into space and the more we look at our past, it's clear that a planet like Mars is where our future lies. We're advancing in an environment which is difficult, but we're advancing quickly. It's an incredible journey. Let's pursue this adventure together. You won't be disappointed. I've been training for 7 years. 7 years before leaving Earth to live for 6 months, 400 kilometers away from our planet. To prepare myself for such a mission, I've been to the 4 corners of the Earth to meet the best aerospace specialists. Notably in Russia, in the suburbs of Moscow, in Star City. This formerly secret town where all the pioneers of space exploration went is also a major training center for all cosmonauts. It's mythical, and you see a lot of things from that period, like sculptures from the 60s and photos of Yuri Gagarin. It's very impressive. And there are people who have been there from the start, instructors who've seen it all. We mustn't miss a thing. We have to know how every piece of equipment works in our space shuttle, the Soyuz. We watch, we learn, we work a lot. There's an enormous amount to remember. Behind each of these panels are complicated systems for purifying the atmosphere, for sharing data, for communicating with Earth, for keeping people alive. And since the site is scattered, I went by bike to my orbital physics classes, even in winter.
This is the break. We're supposed to be having coffee, but instead we're discussing orbital mechanics for the Soyuz rendezvous. Supposedly, everything that's red has been drawn by Andy, so it's obviously wrong. Everything that's green has been drawn by me, so it should be right.
What about all the black?
All the black is all the stuff we don't understand so far.
So we don't understand a lot?
No.
Okay.
But there's some green here, so we're on the right track.
It also takes preparation to endure the violence of the acceleration at takeoff. The centrifuge allows us to adapt to this incredible pressure.
Смотрите прямо. Да, поехали.
1g is the acceleration of weightlessness times 1. So at 1g, things weigh their weight, the weight we are used to feeling. At 2g, twice their weight. We train up to 8 or 9. You need to breathe from the belly because you can't lift your rib cage. It's a bit like having an elephant sitting on you. The skin of your face starts to push to the sides. You need to block your breathing.
Конец вращения. Как самочувствие?
Вверх. 1 направо и 2 вверх.
Хорошо.
It's not very pleasant. It's something similar to what fighter pilots feel, or like on certain extreme joyrides where it sometimes reaches about 3G, I believe. And nightlife at Star City remains very studious.
We're in Star City. in the evening. So what you do in Star City in the evening, you study.
That's
And
right.
What do you study? You study
Soyuz.
You study Soyuz. And then what do we do?
Well, hopefully we find a space using the flight data files.
So this is a really important stuff. This is what flies to space with us.
Yes, and hopefully keep us alive.
All right.
Everything we learn here could perhaps save our lives up there. As astronauts, we must be able to completely master the space shuttle which takes us into the cosmos. In real conditions, including a spacesuit, I learned to pilot the Soyuz in a simulator and react to breakdowns and incidents which the tutors submit me to.
Сначала необходимо протестировать комплект. Причем протестировать оба комплекта.
And even in the worst circumstances, like a fire, I have to follow the procedure in complete calm. In a hot spacesuit and under pressure, the exercise quickly becomes testing. When I watch a launch these days, especially when it's colleagues or friends, I feel it differently. When it's someone close taking off in the rocket, it's not the same experience. And the more you train, the more you understand what can go wrong. Space is still a hostile environment for man. There are daily dangers. Like on the 16th of July 2013, at 9:41 Houston time, my Italian colleague, Luca Parmitano, had been out in space for 44 minutes when he announced a problem to the control center.
My fluky cap. I see these are sweat. No, it's not sweat. No, it's not sweat.
Hey, Luca, can you clarify, is it increasing or not increasing?
It's hard to tell, but it feels like a lot of water. Oh, I see, yeah. Can you see? It's over here, right? Yeah, but I have that, and then there's, I can feel it in the back of my head.
His helmet was filling with water. Water rising to his nostrils, in his eyes.
I'm making the decision to end today's EVA early.
Okay.
Luca could neither see nor hear and could barely breathe.
At the airlock. Coming off on the wing. I have a lot of water. Shane, I don't know if you can hear me. That's the airlock with a lot of water.
But he only had a few minutes to find the door to the airlock on his own. A few minutes to save his life.
Go expedite a little bit back to the airlock.
2 minutes later, the control center lost all communication with the astronaut.
Do not connect your SCU, and Chris, you will come in second and do the hatch ups.
After about 14 minutes, without panicking, Luca Parmitano managed to enter the station just relying on memory. His teammates quickly took off his spacesuit, which could have been his coffin. He could finally breathe. It's to learn how to handle that sort of incident that I trained for spacewalks. For that, I go to the NASA Space Center in Houston, Texas. In the biggest indoor pool in the world, filled with 23 million liters of water, I master the spacesuit. Training in a spacesuit is difficult. After 6 hours in it, you ache all over. It's as though it battles against you, resisting the slightest movement because it's pressurized.
It's a snug fit. All right, well, that's good.
With the pressure inside of 0.3, as soon as you close your hand, it's like trying to crush a tennis ball. Certain movements you can't do. They hurt your shoulders, etc. It grinds you down. In a submerged life-size model of the International Space Station, I trained for different missions and emergency situations.
Are you all right, Andy? Andy? Oh, God damn it. Because I seem to have lost comm with him. I'm making my way out of the truss. That's the engines of aircraft. This is gate closed, slider locked, black on black.
I activate the black on black code, indicating a medical distress. The scenario has just changed. It is based upon what Luca Parmitano experienced in space. My objective is to quickly bring my partner back inside the station for treatment. With the water pressure and the weight of the suit, pulling Andy while ensuring security is a taxing exercise.
Okay, so Andy is in. That good? Good job.
Is 26 minutes, which was pretty difficult starting the bushings of the job.
Okay.
I repeat this training again and again until it becomes completely natural and easy. Because once up there, suspended in the spatial void, there'll be no room for error. If there's a problem, we know we only have ourselves to count on.
We think of the risks during training because the instructors are pretty vicious and throw very difficult combinations of breakdowns at us. By the end, you're Superman. As a team, you face all the situations and always come through brilliantly. Because you know the vessel perfectly, it becomes yours. It becomes like an extension of the team forming an entity. In the end, a breakdown, a problem, is no longer an obstacle. It's an opportunity to find a solution. So you don't think of the risk of losing your life. You think of the risk of badly fixing, badly closing, of sabotaging an experiment. The obsession of astronauts is the integral success of the mission given to them.
The 15th of November 2016, in the cold of the Kazakhstan countryside, will be the day of my big voyage. On that day, I will walk in the footsteps of the man who opened space to humanity, Yuri Gagarin. On the 12th of April 1961, after leaving a farewell letter to his wife, he embraced the controllers on the launch pad before climbing into the rocket named Tanya. Not knowing if he would come back alive from this first voyage into space. All these moments, all these actions of our icon, our model, have become obligatory rituals for all astronauts.
Gagarin's gestures before his first flight are repeated. Planting a tree, watching the film White Sun of the Desert, which Gagarin would have seen before he left, visiting the places he went.
In Russia, in Baikonur, I too will soon sign the door of my hotel room, before being blessed by an Orthodox priest and saying farewell to my nearest and dearest behind glass to avoid all danger of transmitting illness.
Little by little, you are completely immersed in the atmosphere of this adventure, which will begin in a few hours. You're a professional, a professional, a professional. You're ready. Then you become a cosmonaut. You become an astronaut.
17, 16.
After Yuri Gagarin and the 558 men and women who have followed in his tracks, the 15th of November 2016, I will at last become an astronaut.
5, 4, we have ignition. All engines are running. We have liftoff. We have liftoff.
The first thing you feel in spaceflight is the huge kick in the backside you receive at takeoff. It's not more powerful than Space Mountain at Disneyland, but it lasts longer. You know you're sitting on a huge firecracker full of explosives, and when the solid fuel ignites, there's a phenomenon of low-frequency vibration which feels like a trotting horse. The vibrations can have an amplitude of several centimeters, and according to outside temperature and wind, it can be difficult to read your checklists or the screens. So the first sensation is the virility of the power you feel in your back. The second sensation, 1 or 2 minutes later, is of the sky going black as ink in the middle of the day.
My first recollection is of trying to look through the porthole when the capsule's protective cap was lifted after leaving the atmosphere at an altitude of 70 kilometers and looking at this Earth, which I was leaving.
This incredible human adventure will allow me to discover the beauty of our planet during the 6-hour voyage in orbit around the Earth. Before docking my capsule, like Claudie in 1996, with what will be my home for the 6-month mission, the International Space Station.
Do your impressions so far correspond with what you were expecting from your first contact with space?
It's 1,000 times more beautiful than I expected. I'm so lucky to be part of such a mission. I hope I can convince everyone of the beauty of what we've done, of the usefulness of what we're going to do for 2 weeks. But it's a really fabulous array of feelings and emotions. I'm living a dream.
With the motors off, you stay in orbit until you do something to come back, and you're in weightlessness, floating. You make no effort to hold yourself, to move around. You no longer feel your weight. If you look through the porthole while floating, and there is no itch or anything to remind you that you have a body, you can even forget that you have one. You are a floating consciousness which considers, which thinks, which concentrates on work. Of course, you sometimes use your hands, so you see you have a body, but not feeling your weight, your body. It's very strange.
In space, no more up nor down. You discover the third dimension. When you see a floating astronaut, you think of Captain Haddock's blob of whiskey.
You slowly master getting around in microgravity. At first, you're a bit awkward, a bit clumsy, not judging the force needed to propel yourself from a panel. It takes a moment to get your bearings in 3 dimensions with a module above, a module behind, a module below, to know how to position yourself.
You can move a load of 700 kilos with your bare hands. Whether it be in your scientific and medical experiments or in upkeep and repair operations, weightlessness complicates things a bit.
Hello, I'm Sunny Williams. I'm up here on the International Space Station. So we're going into the Russian segment. Be ready. You don't need a passport either. Hey, Aki, what are you doing down there?
Crashing things.
This is one of the cool things about space, too. It sort of looks like there's a big old hole here, but you don't even think twice about it. You could just jump over the hole. Or, if you want, you can go jump into the hole. I'm coming down. Woo!
The second characteristic of weightlessness, when you're not used to it, is that you lose things. All astronauts have lost things. Batteries, accumulators, watches. Someone once lost a watch, which turned up 2 flights later, in weightlessness with another team. He was stuck in a corner and no one on the ground had found it. In all the space vessels, the 2 main tools are duct tape and Velcro.
The absence of gravity means you have to adapt how you eat.
What's on the menu tonight?
Strawberry shortcake. We have these butter cookies and some strawberries with a little bit of milk on top.
In space, you eat differently, if only because everything floats, so you need to work out how to control it, otherwise it gets complicated. Bread, for example, mustn't make crumbs because they get in your eyes, they get in ventilation ducts, they get behind electronic equipment panels. That's not a good idea. In space, there is no equipped kitchen for preparing meals, and a space oven is nothing like what we use on Earth.
Prepare the spinach, you just attach it to the water distributor, choose the right quantity, then push the button.
Dinner's ready. Spinach, honey spread, chocolate cake. Meals are much more varied than during the first space missions. No more tubes and canned food.
European astronauts go to the NASA food lab, where they try out all the meals usually prepared for astronauts. And then they say what they prefer.
It's here at the Houston Space Center that everything is prepared. After preparation in the laboratory, all meals are sterilized and freeze-dried.
Last time I was so full in the afternoon because I ate way too much of everything.
I know, I'm so sorry. It's going to be about the same amount today.
I know, no, but I'm
so
more
just
prepared.
take small bites.
Yeah, I will.
From fruit juice and breakfast cereal to curried prawns and chili con carne. In all, I tasted 50 different dishes and drinks, and some of them need to be handled with care in space.
Inadvertently cut that oxygen scavenger, you'd have little particles going everywhere. So it's probably better to try to tear that pouch open at the notches rather than cutting it. That's just on the bread products.
In space, there's the problem of crumbs, but also of taste.
Things don't necessarily taste the same in weightlessness.
In weightlessness, all bodily fluids rise, and it's as if you had a cold. A colleague told me that she loved prawns on the ground, so she asked for loads of them in her rations. Then once on board, she found them horrible and couldn't eat them, which wasn't great.
Okay? Okay.
After the 50 samples, the only low marks I gave were for the tea and the tuna. I have to say I like my food.
At least I know food won't be a problem for me.
Yeah.
Except if my sense of taste changes too much, which I don't expect it will.
It might change slightly. I don't think it'll change.
I just hope my party meals taste the same up there.
Thank you.
I will be lucky enough to spend Christmas, New Year and my birthday on the space station. So I've already invited my colleagues for a somewhat gastronomic French meal.
Thomas has 2 chefs. One who's worked with the CNES for a long time, that's Alain Ducasse. And a more recent one, who Thomas has already communicated with, that's Thierry Marx.
In his kitchens at the Mandarin Oriental, chef Thierry Marx came up with a local recipe for me.
Concerning Thomas Pesquet's menu, the theme is very simple. Pleasure first. He spoke a lot about fattened hen in yellow wine, with moral sauce. He must have been blown away by that at some point, so we prepared that. Then we wanted a recognizable dish from the French culinary heritage, so we found something really traditional. Veal tongue lucullus. And for dessert, he was thinking of spiced bread, candied apple, baked apple, quince. So we made a cake called candy apple spiced bread. That's sort of how we came up with the dishes Thomas Pesquet wanted to take with him. You know, we were brought up on Jules Verne, and to know that the dishes that we cooked were going to be shared with other astronauts 400 kilometers above our heads, well, that was something quite out of the ordinary. It's in the realm of fiction, like floating in a dream. And for Thomas, it's a Franco-French adventure to share with his foreign colleagues.
Thierry Marx is not only a starred chef, but an innovator. Along with the chemist Raphaël Aumont, he creates tomorrow's cuisine. For space, for Earth, for everyone.
At the end of the day, the idea is to look at nature. When you look at a fruit, a tomato for example, there's a very, very fine skin, which is a consumable membrane. So we said to ourselves, let's try to reconstitute in the laboratory fruit skins, vegetable skins, to encapsulate products. And that's where we are today. Here we have a completely vegetal membrane. You pierce it, it becomes a canister. You drink. We've also added orange peel to scent the interior. Either you eat it all, or you say, the gelatin part isn't my thing. I'll throw it away. Except after 3 days in the earth, there's nothing left. You might call it travel food. You take it, you consume it, while still walking, etc. You might say, who would want that? Navigators. And what's always fascinated Thierry Marx is space.
To find out if this canister 2.0 could one day be used in space, it needed to be tried in test conditions. That's how the chef and the chemist came to use Jean-François Clairvoy's zero-G aircraft, used for weightlessness experiments.
Basically, weightlessness flight, 0G, was necessary to verify that our technical competence produced something operational in reality.
We started with capsules, like this water capsule, with nothing, and we gave it to Jean-François, who pierced and tested it in zero-gravity conditions.
It's drinking water, but with an orange taste. I can taste it. The taste has infiltrated the liquid.
He said, your line of research seems really interesting, because when you pierce the capsule, the water won't come out. So perhaps it's the can of tomorrow. You go to a distributor in the office or in the street, you tap in, I won't say the trade name, but you always have aluminum cans or plastic bottles. So we thought, it's for immediate consumption, so it's a shame to create waste. So it's that too. One of the laboratory's guidelines is zero waste, from a purely vegetal standpoint. So we hope that this can have a place in tomorrow's office distributors, for example.
While we wait to make our own cans of water, we have water and lemonade distributors up there. We sometimes even fill our flasks with something very different.
I shouldn't tell you this because alcohol is not allowed on board space stations, but once, during my first mission, I tasted cognac. A very, very small amount, but it didn't have the taste it has on Earth, unfortunately.
On the other hand, it's a time for exchanging, for sharing, for conviviality. It's important. A space mission is, of course, about science, technique, operational performance. It's an extraordinary human adventure to be shared with the ground crew and the international crew on board. And wine is part of that.
Fortunately, in space, you can occasionally allow yourself a crazy moment. A little breather in a tight schedule. Days begin early, and in space, like on Earth, the first thing is the washing routine. Except that in weightlessness, that's different too.
Cleaning yourself with a damp towel and taking a shower, even if it isn't one, washing in a bubble of water, I found that incredibly funny. Washing your hair with dry shampoo or a damp towel is completely possible.
What I like to do is start by just putting some hot water, squirting it onto my scalp. And I have a mirror here so I can kind of watch what I'm doing. Sometimes the water gets away from you, and you try and catch as much as you can. Then I just work the water up through to the ends of my hair. And I take my no-rinse shampoo and squirt it also on the scalp, just a little bit, and rub it in. Again, kind of working it out to the ends. And that is how I wash my hair in space on the International Space Station.
And that's it. Thank you.
The toilet works automatically through a suction system.
Hello, and welcome to the toilet of the International Space Station. Let's say you're up here on ISS and you need to go to the restroom. You want to come to this cabin, and the first thing you want to do is grab this piece of equipment and turn this rotary switch 90 degrees to the open position. What that does is it turns on a fan, which creates a suction effect in this hose, so that you can use this yellow element for your number one. For number two, the principle is actually exactly the same, suction. We have a solid waste container here, and on top of it is this seat. And the solid waste container is connected via this hose to the same fan, so that, again, the same suction effects allows you to do your number two in weightlessness. And in fact, there is a bag in there. It looks like this. And when we are done with our business, we close the bag and we push it down into the solid waste container. And then, of course, as a courtesy to the next person, we put a new fresh bag inside.
People don't usually complain. I think hygiene is pretty good. I hope so, because 6 months is a long time. You don't really change your clothes very often. Clothes need to be sent. There's no washing machine, so once used, they go into supply vehicles, which then burn up in the atmosphere. So you wear a t-shirt for a week, then the second week for doing sport every day. Almost all movement is possible in weightlessness. In space, sport is obligatory. In weightlessness, muscles don't need to work. What's worse, your heart doesn't need to pump as hard to push the blood up the body. The treadmill and the bike, always attached, form an integral part of every day in orbit. By doing 2.5 hours of sport a day, you stay more or less at the same level. There's a weight machine with pneumatic cylinders on which you can do a lot of movements, particularly for the back muscles, to help keep a straight back. On Earth, you use them every day without realizing. Up there in the space station, you don't need them. In fact, astronauts grow up to 5 centimeters because the spinal column stretches when there's no weight to compress the discs. High-tech equipment, far from the more freestyle approach of the first astronauts. My British colleague, Tim, ran the London Marathon in communication from the space station on a treadmill, for example. We can do things like that. While in London, on the 26th of April 2016, 40,000 runners attacked the 42 kilometres marathon at the same time. In the space station, Tim Peake took the record for the fastest orbiting marathon on a treadmill in 3 hours, 35 minutes and 21 seconds. In the evenings, I will retire to what serves as my room, my sleep station. No bed nor pillow here. Just a sleeping bag, hooked to the wall to avoid finding yourself stuck to the ceiling in the morning. When you sleep in the space station, you have your arms in front of you like that, because there's no weight to bring them down to your sides, and with a slight angle in each articulation, that's the rest position. It's surprising at first. People wake up with their hands in front of their faces. They don't realize they're theirs.
Ready to go to bed. I'll show you where I sleep. This is my sleep station, or my sleep pod. This is where I spend up to 8 hours every day, here on board the space station. It's actually on the floor, but once you're inside, you just can't tell.
Sleeping well is crucial for astronauts. We have to be at the height of our capacities. So each night, our sleep is watched and analysed.
Charlie Hope all lines, Space Shuttle Atlantis up for its touchdown in just over 1 minute.
In California, at NASA's Ames Research Center, Dr. Erin Flynn Evans carries out sleep studies of the astronauts in her laboratory.
Hi, Patrick.
Hi, Erin.
It's impossible to carry out this experiment in space with this sort of electroencephalograph helmet. Too complicated. We wear a simple watch monitor instead.
So this is our primary device that we use in field studies. And so that includes anything that we do here on Earth, where we're studying people who are free living, or astronauts in space. And the reason that we use this device is because it allows us to study many more people. They don't have to put very much effort into wearing this activity monitor, and it still gives us a good amount of information on their sleep and wake habits. Then they were active a bit during the day.
By studying data about our sleep phases, this scientist tries to see if we sleep as well in space as on Earth.
Sleep quality can be quite good in space, and on the space station, the accommodations are actually very, very nice right now compared to the way that they were in the past. However, they don't sleep very much in space, and so compared to sleep on the ground, even though they have the opportunity to sleep and they have a very nice place to sleep, they only get about 6 hours, and that's compared to close to 7 when they're on the ground and when they're not preparing for flight. And so while workload probably comes into this a bit, where some of their work bleeds into their opportunity for sleep, it probably is in some part an effect of microgravity itself.
For the moment, we don't know why weightlessness influences our sleep.
There is some possibility that maybe we just don't need quite as much sleep in space. And so this is not something that we know for sure, but it is a possibility, and it's something that we are looking into in the studies that we're doing. So relax and try to go to sleep.
We don't need to get up late up there, but Sunday still remains sacred. On the ISS, we work 6 days or 5.5 days. Saturday afternoon is for housework, and Sunday for rest. Some people play music. There's a guitar up there, a keyboard. I'll try to take my saxophone because I'm a saxophonist. My rest day will allow me to follow what's happening on Earth, to communicate with loved ones via internet. Like the astronaut Michael Hopkins, who followed live in space his son's hockey match in Houston, Texas.
Can you see?
Yep, sure can. Where's Lucas playing, though? I can't tell.
He's center. He's racing down ice right now.
Staying connected with our Earth, without taking our eyes off the sublime spectacle that it offers us at each moment.
Probably the most spectacular sensation, the most moving, which marks you to the end of your days, is the sight of Earth. You go around it 16 times a day.
Then there are the signs of life on Earth. The lights at night, with the coasts lined with them. You can tell that an important percentage of the Earth's population is on the coasts of the continents. Obviously, the natural phenomena have a more surprising magnitude than you imagine. So you feel the force of nature, and also the fragility of the life-bearing planet.
Get a glimpse of the real size of a hurricane. Make out the Italian boot. How many dream of this spectacle? I don't think I'll be any different. I'll be as fascinated as everyone by this spectacle of nature and the fragility of the Earth. I'd like to see the aurora borealis, storms, volcanic eruptions. There will be geometric forms in the Sahara and in the center of Australia. You can see the Himalayan mountains. It's an incredible voyage. I will try to document, to take photos and to share them with people from the space station. Tomorrow, thanks to social media, you will be able to admire what I'm lucky enough to see behind my porthole. But soon, you too will be able to get a taste of space, and perhaps even become a true astronaut. We're advancing in a difficult environment, but we're advancing quickly. For 15 years now, we've had a permanent human presence in low orbit on the space station. What will happen now is that professional astronauts will keep going further, and the wider public will follow behind. This is the man who opened the way for space tourism, Dennis Tito. At 60 years of age, this American millionaire managed to join the Soyuz team after months of conflict with NASA, who were initially opposed to the idea of having civilians on the space station.
Made more difficult by certain political problems, but I had the support of the Russian people and the Kazakh people, and we came through, so I'm very happy.
Finally, on the 28th of April 2001, he took off for an 8-day stay on the space station at a cost of $20 million.
For the moment, private access to space is limited to the very, very rare privileged few. I think a ticket is worth around $30 million. It's not yet mass tourism.
Since then, 5 men and 1 woman have signed away between $25 and $35 million.
Thank you. I wouldn't be here without you.
Clearly, to enter this El Dorado, you need to be rich. A multi-millionaire, but also highly motivated and in good physical form to endure the same training as we astronauts. I don't think it's dangerous to send normal people, but medically they need some vetting all the same. That's where there is a risk of causing offense, because you can't send just anyone into space.
It needs to be understood that orbital tourism is hard on those taking part. They need to train for 3 months at Star City near Moscow, like real astronauts. They learn all the security procedures, etc. It's hard training. Several candidates who've started have quickly given up.
A space trip needs to be earned, and the holy grail for all space travelers is the title astronaut. You can only attain it one way: go beyond 100 kilometers above ground, the space frontier.
It's generally accepted that the frontier of space is at 100 kilometers. So below 99, you're an Earthling. From 101, you become an astronaut.
This new frontier doesn't only attract millionaires. In Marseille, there is one man who will become an astronaut. Yves Blindou isn't a millionaire. He's an entrepreneur. and above all, passionate about aviation.
First of all, there's sort of a personal challenge to go beyond oneself and have the extraordinary privilege of one day seeing the Earth from up there.
Ex-tour de novembre 288 Charlie Delta, aligné près sur Alpha.
Charlie Delta, remontez piste 32, alignez-vous.
L'espace, c'est le rêve d'enfant.
Space is a childhood dream. Since I was tiny, I've always wanted to fly.
A dream made possible by an historic exploit. The success on the 21st of June 2004 of the two first space flights by a private vessel, Spaceship One.
Welcome home, Brian Benny.
This is what triggered Yves Blindou.
En fait, j'ai regardé ça à la télévision et
I watched it on television and said to myself, wow, it's perhaps becoming possible
de faire partie de ce
to be part of this little club of would-be pioneers
pourrait prétendre
with ambitions towards space travel.
Pour l'espace.
The era of commercial space travel has begun. Several companies have joined the wider public space race. In 2010, Virgin Galactic put space tickets on sale. Now 150 times cheaper, space is accessible for $200,000.
Fin 2010.
At the end of 2010, I sold my house and the profit went straight into a Virgin ticket. It was the only way.
Donc c'était voilà.
It was something I had to do.
C'était pas possible.
It's into this space shuttle that the future astronaut will climb to go chat with the stars. Virgin Galactic's suborbital VSS Unity aircraft, developed by the company's founder, the petulant Richard Branson.
Literally, it's going to be an out-of-Earth experience. We hope to enable millions of people to be able to go into space in an affordable manner.
Released at high altitude by a quadruple reactor aircraft, Yves Blindou will feel the acceleration of the rocket, which will take them up vertically 110 kilometers above ground. To spend 5 minutes in weightlessness, admiring the Earth, before gliding back down to the ground 3 hours later. At the moment, Yves Blindou is still waiting for the flight date, which has been delayed by the accident sustained by the first model of the shuttle. That was on the 31st of October 2014. During a test flight, Spaceship Two became dislocated at an altitude of 13,700 meters. The co-pilot just had time to eject, but the pilot died immediately. The inquest concluded there was human error. But this sort of propulsion technology is risky to master. For the moment, no system has been validated.
The intrinsic risk factor today suggests a serious accident every 1,000 flights. But if there are 10,000 flights per year and your engine explodes every 1,000 flights, that won't work. The real problem lies in the viability of the rocket's propulsion system.
It's a chance Yves Blindou is prepared to take.
Tell me, have you ever thought of giving up?
No, never. As long as they don't give up, neither will I. You can stop hoping when they tell us it will only be possible in another 30 years. If tomorrow it's impossible, I'll get my money back. There would be cause for reimbursement. But trusting in men who correct their mistakes, that's the pioneering spirit. Richard Branson immediately reacted by saying, "We continue. We will hold an inquiry and give you the result quickly." That's it. I still have faith in the system.
In the meantime, it's from an aeroplane that Yves Blindou contemplates his region.
What I like is the freedom you have. It's an extraordinary privilege to see Earth from above and look at the marvels of our country. We're in a good place here. I think it's good to be perhaps amongst pioneers who've given a bit of time, some savings. We've made a few sacrifices too. Who've jumped on a moving train, so to speak.
It's interesting to notice the parallels. At the beginning of aviation, they talked about a whim. Then they said it was dangerous. Finally, it became what it is today. It's become accessible. Virtually everyone can profit from it, and it links the world's populations. In an optimistic view of future space exploration, I foresee something similar to what happened in aeronautics on Earth. And if we have vessels for going into close space, why not develop hotels for spending a few days' holiday in orbit around the Earth? Science fiction? No. The crazy bet of the boss of an American hotel chain, Robert Bigelow.
One idea on the table today is Robert Bigelow's inflatable hotel. He's planning a first hotel set up in space, composed of 3 modules connected in a star shape.
In each module would be a water closet, a kitchen unit, a place to rest, watch films and communicate with Earth, a treadmill for sport, and spacesuits to go outside in an emergency.
Each module is autonomous, with water, gas, electricity, air conditioning, etc. They can be isolated if there's a problem. That allows the astronauts, passengers, tourists, to survive for a long time while waiting for assistance.
On the 8th of April 2016, the first beam module was launched inside a SpaceX rocket, which especially for the occasion succeeded to land on a barge in the middle of the ocean.
Capture control.
The Beam Life module is set up and attached to the International Space Station for life-size tests over 2 years. For the moment, it's empty, but it could be kitted out like a hotel room, with a bonus, an incredible view of our planet Earth. It's good, it's positive. It proves something is put into service, that it wasn't just for the pleasure, but genuinely useful. Private companies will be interested in developing this sector later on. But we'll go further. One day there will be humans on Mars, for sure. It's just a question of time. It's not if, but when. When it's time to go somewhere where man has never set foot, we'll all put our hands up. While close space access for everyone is for tomorrow, we astronauts are preparing to go further still, towards the planet Mars.